guys, what's up? It's Raven. Fun fact, my favorite quote, "This too shall pass," is actually a quote from Abraham Lincoln. A lot of people seem to think that that might be like a quote from the Bible or something like that, but it was actually Abraham Lincoln who was quoted saying that. But on another note, today I am here with pretty much like a random rant, very much a la my old Snapchat rants or Instagram story rants, when I just kind of have a thought, an idea, a topic come to me and it's sort of nagging at me for whatever reason, but it's not really something that's like super relevant or super important or super life-changing, but it's just something I want to rant about. This is one of the topics that I mentioned in a previous episode where I read you guys my list of podcast topics and I had you guys vote. I gave you guys a few hot takes and somewhat controversial topics that I could do. And I did get a lot of feedback from you guys saying like, just go for it. Like, yeah, I'm interested. Like some people might be offended. Some people might not agree with you, but a good amount of you guys really like supported my hot takes and said you wanted to hear them. So that, made me feel good. I did get comments, of course, of people being like, no, like you shouldn't, specifically some of the topics that I listed that had to do with religion, or, Christianity specifically. Of course, I know that that's going to be like the main subject that ruffles the most feathers. And I definitely did get some feedback of people being like, maybe not those. But regardless, the winner of the vote, at least last time I checked, was not those. It was the one where I said, why are we afraid to admit the real reason why we do things, such as shaving our body hair, wearing makeup, getting plastic surgery, adhering to a certain religion is also one of the things. So that is the topic that you guys voted on. That's the one we're going to talk about today. We're going to do a random rant. Let's get into it. I wrote notes so that I could sort of gather my thoughts a little bit better for this. So hear me out, bear with me. I know some of y'all are probably thinking what are we even talking about here? Basically, I feel like people are afraid to admit the real reason why they do things. I think a lot of times when it comes to personal choices, like I said, for example, the choice for a woman to shave her body hair, the choice to wear makeup, to get cosmetic procedures done, get plastic surgery, but really anything, the choice to, subscribe to a certain religion, the choice that you made about your career field, literally any and everything, anything that you would normally dub as a quote unquote personal choice. Most of the time, if you were to talk to someone or ask them why they chose to do something like that, you will hear people say, oh, I did this for me. This was a personal choice for me. I'm not doing it for anybody else. I don't wear makeup for other people's approval. I didn't get this plastic surgery because of anybody else. I got it because I wanted it, because it was going to make me feel better. This was a personal choice. This was about me. I did this for me. No, I'm not trying to please anybody. I'm not, caught up in outside opinions. People tend to get pretty defensive about it almost and really try to convince other people that the only reason why they did XYZ is for themselves, for their own betterment, for their own comfort, for their own personal aesthetic preferences, and that their beliefs are just their beliefs and they're not influenced by society or anyone else around them. It's just something that they truly wanted to do for themselves, period. My question is that totally true? Is it even possible for that to ever really be true? I'm not so sure. And it bothers me because there's a lot of shame associated with a lot of these quote unquote personal decisions. People are made to feel very ashamed about maybe what the real reason was. They feel like they can't admit the true reasoning behind it because people make them feel so ashamed about it. I think that the truth is, in most cases, we make these types of decisions because we're just trying to survive in this society. We're trying to assimilate. Yes, we're trying to fit in. Yes, we're trying to please other people. Yes, we're trying to avoid ridicule or being made fun of. We're trying to avoid being ostracized. We're trying to avoid being the outcast, the ugly duckling, whatever the case may be. Yes, it has a lot to do with other people's opinions. Yes, it has a lot to do with not wanting to be judged. And I think that that's fair and valid. Why can't that be a valid reason? If I want to get plastic surgery, if I want to wear makeup, if I want to change something about my appearance because of those actual reasons, what's wrong with that? Why am I being shamed for that? That's the issue that I have with it, is that we are made to feel like those are not good enough reasons, when I think they are very valid reasons, because when you think about it, human beings, I think we like to think that we are so different from every other animal species in the world, which obviously in a lot of ways we are, but in a lot of ways we're not. Basic human nature, think about any other species, any other animal. A pack of animals, if there's one of the animals in the pack who is different, who stands out for whatever reason, they are more likely to be pushed to the side, ostracized, to struggle in the pack, and to end up being, a bigger target for prey. That pack mentality, that mentality of wanting to fit in, wanting to assimilate, wanting to look like the people around you, wanting to, fit in with them and be respected by them. That is a basic instinct that most species have. And I don't think humans are any different. I think that's a basic biological fact that we want to fit in. We want to feel like we belong. We want to be respected by the people around us. We want to be attractive to the people around us. We don't want to look wildly different than them. We don't want to stand out. We don't want to be alone. We don't want to be the odd man out, because it doesn't feel safe to be that in a lot of cases. You know what I mean? A lot of it does boil down to physical appearance, just like literally physically trying to change our appearance or adjust our appearance to fit in physically. But some of it is, like I said, religion, career, a lot of other aspects of life where it's like, you're just trying not to be left out because you're trying to survive. Like, that's literally a basic instinct. And to act like that's so crazy and so unheard of is just like ridiculous to me, because literally being an outcast of any kind on a basic biological level, being an outcast is a threat to your livelihood, is a threat to your mortality sometimes too. You know what I mean? Again, we have a lot more in common with the rest of the food chain than we like to admit. You know what I mean? If you study animal behaviors, we're no different in a lot of ways. It's like I said, it's important to move with the pack, fit in with the pack. And so I think that when people claim that they don't care what anyone else thinks, or they get defensive about where their ideas or opinions or choices really stem from, it doesn't make sense, because unless you were born in isolation, your individuality simply cannot run that deep. Unless you were born in isolation, really think about this. Really think about this. All of your opinions and ideas and choices come from somewhere. You weren't born with these ideas. You weren't born with these preferences. You weren't born, thinking that something is beautiful and something is not attractive, and this is ideal and this is not ideal. You weren't born with that. You picked that up from somewhere. Every single thing. You picked it up from somewhere, something around you, someone around you made you feel that way. None of our ideas are really our own when you think about it, because where did it come from? I think some people may argue that maybe some come from God, depending on your spiritual beliefs. I guess I could see that. But realistically, when it comes to the choices that we make about ourselves, it comes from somewhere. It doesn't really just come randomly from within. You got that idea from somewhere. And I'll be the first to admit, yes, I could give you a bunch of examples, because I've gotten plastic surgery. I've gotten other cosmetic work done, filler, Botox, different things like that to my face. I wear full glam makeup. I change my hair a lot. I do a lot of things when it comes to my appearance. I shave my body hair, I get Brazilian waxes, all that type of stuff. I do it all. And I will be the first to admit that I don't do all of that shit simply just for me because I want to. And I don't care what anybody else thinks. And it has nothing to do with anybody else. And I do it for me and only me. That's not true. That is simply not true. I'm not going to sit up here and try to me, it gives pick me. It really gives pick me when somebody is just so dead set, like they will not admit the outside influence that society has on them. It gives very much pick me energy. And I don't see the point. Oh, well, okay, so you felt insecure about something because of the way that other people made you feel. It's okay to admit that. I got my boobs done. I got my boobs done because I was insecure about my natural breasts because a few things. Number one, they were small and they had a very juvenile look to them. They made me feel like a little girl. So no, personally, I didn't like looking at that in the mirror, but I also didn't like the idea of anybody else seeing it on me, you know? My boyfriend at the time or whoever else, any sort of romantic partner or sexual partner. Yes, it bothered me that they might look at me and think that way of me. Yes, of course I thought about that. Of course I thought about how attractive it would be to other people. It wasn't just about what I thought of myself because who cares? You know, when it comes to something like that, that doesn't even make sense because I don't have to be sexually attracted to myself. Who cares? You know what I mean? I might have a preference, but why does it matter what my own boobs look like if it's only for me? That doesn't, you know, I have to like that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? As long as they're here and they're healthy and they function as far as breastfeeding, that's the only thing that should matter to me, right? On a personal level. But the aesthetics of how they look, when it comes to how something looks, you present yourself and you adorn yourself and you alter yourself, that appearance, that is because that is an expression to other people. Everything you do with your appearance is an expression to those around you. So whether you care if they like it or not, that's the question. But I think most people would be lying if they said that they don't care if anybody likes it. Because yes, it's fair to say that there are certain groups of people that you don't value their opinion. I don't care to be found attractive by everybody in the world. That's impossible. You're not going to be able to please everybody. People have different preferences, different tastes, right? I'm never going to be considered attractive by everybody in the world. And that's never going to be my goal. I don't care that goddamn much. But I care about certain people. I care about a certain demographic. I care about, you know, for example, the men that I'm attracted to, somebody who I want to date, somebody who I have a crush on, somebody, like I said, my boyfriend at the time or what have you. I care what they think. I want them to be attracted to me. I would be lying if I said that I didn't care. I do care. That is part of the reason why I got my boobs done, because I wanted to feel more confident and more attractive to those people. Same thing when it comes to any work that I've had done, like lip filler and stuff like that. Yes, it was for me. Yes, it's because I thought it looked better. I would be more confident if I had this done. This is just, you know, my personal opinion that I think this is something that actually is an enhancement that makes me look better. I think it looks better. There are tons of people who disagree. Yes, there are tons of people in the world who are like, you should have never did nothing to your face. You didn't need all that. You look better without it. And to them, I said, I don't give a fuck what you think. It's not for you. I didn't do it for you. If you don't like it, oh well. But I, once again, did also do it with the people in mind who would be attracted to it, you know? And I would be lying if I didn't admit that part of it. Same thing goes for putting on makeup and anything else that I do to adorn myself. Yes, it's for myself and I get to enjoy it and I get to feel good. That's part of it. But there's another piece of it that I know that other people are going to be attracted to it. And that makes it also worth doing, you know, specifically when it comes to shaving. I like to use the example of shaving, women shaving or removing, waxing, whatever, removing of body hair. Specifically, obviously, that's more of something that is what women have to deal with more than men. So a little history lesson on that. When it comes to shaving or just like hair removal, it was an ancient practice, like in ancient Egypt, Greece, Rome. These ancient civilizations did remove their body hair. They did shave. And the thing is, though, both men and women did it. It wasn't a thing that was just for the women back in ancient times. Men and women both shaved. And it was said to be done for quote unquote hygienic reasons. Now, we know, we know that ancient civilizations knew very little about hygiene, generally speaking. So why they thought that they needed to remove their body hair for hygienic reasons, who knows? You know what I mean? They had their thoughts on that. But then in the early 20th century, it says the idea of hairlessness as a feminine ideal gained traction in the early 20th century, coinciding with changing fashions and advertising campaigns promoting hair removal products. A lot of y'all have probably heard this story. Gillette, the razor and like shaving cream brand Gillette, in 1915, Gillette introduced the first razor specifically marketed to women. And they began advertising campaigns that linked hair removal with modern femininity. So femininity, that's a hard word to say. But basically, the brand Gillette is to blame. The fact that it is such a big deal for women to have to shave their body hair, you can blame Gillette for that. They basically invented that because before that, it was not a thing. It really was not. It hadn't been a thing since ancient Egypt. Nobody gave a fuck. Nobody cared about shaving at all, really. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't a trend. It wasn't at all a necessity where like it is today, where 90% of women, at least in our, modern Western society, of course it's different in different cultures and different countries and stuff like that. But it was not a thing until Gillette, who was just making razors for men for like their facial hair, they got the bright idea, if we start advertising to women, we can make a lot more money. We could double, triple our income because now we're only selling razors to men for their facial hair. But how can we get to the women? It's all a marketing scheme. It's all a money-making scheme. And then they drilled it into our heads through advertising that you're not feminine. You're not a desirable woman unless you buy our razors and shave your legs. Oh, and shave your underarms too. Oh, and shave your pubic hair too. Oh, and if you grow hair on your stomach, shave that too. Oh, and if you grow hair on your arms, shave that too. Why? Because then you'll have to buy more and more razors and more shaving cream to keep up with all this hair removal that you got to do. Because guess what? Women having hair all over their body is normal and natural. Duh, we all know this. We're all born with it. Women and men are not very different in that sense. We pretty much grow hair in almost all the same places. You know what I mean? And it's so crazy to think about the fact that, especially if you are a religious or spiritual person, God made us this way. God put the hair on our body for a reason. It literally serves a purpose. The hair is there to protect our skin and especially to protect our sensitive areas. It's to create a blockade for our sensitive areas, especially when you think about the underarms and the pubic area. The hair is there for a reason, and removing it is not really always, it's not hygienic and it's not safe, and you're causing more harm than good by removing it. It's meant to be there for a reason. You know what I mean? And especially for, people, like I said, people who are spiritual and people who are always like, God made you that way. Like, you shouldn't change yourself. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that because that's the way God made you. I'm like, what about your body hair? What God put the hair there too. You know what I mean? And it's just crazy that like this whole, this trend that has permeated our society so deeply. It is such a big deal. Still to this day, it's 2025. A lot more people are a lot more progressive these days, but still in 2025, it is such a big deal. If you see a woman with hairy armpits, oh Lord, you don't let a girl post herself on Instagram with hairy armpits or hairy legs. The comments are going to be insane. Of fellow women being like, you're nasty. Ew, you couldn't shave. Ugh, what's under her arms? She's dirty. I know she stinks. What? But then at the same time, you see a picture of a man, just hair just everywhere, just bushy under the arms, all over the chest, all over the everywhere, just looking like a bear, but he's not dirty. You're not saying he look like he stinks. He's not nasty. Why is it nasty on a woman? That makes literally no logical sense. It makes not one piece of sense to say that a woman having body hair is nasty or unhygienic or unladylike or anything. It's just natural. It's just natural. It's such an extreme double standard, the way that we judge women compared to men for that. And it's one of the stupidest, most pointless things because there is no point behind it. There is literally no benefit to removing your body hair. It only causes harm. It causes ingrown hairs. It causes bumps, rashes, nicks, cuts, reactions. You're exposing all of your private areas, getting all these, it's collecting sweat and bacteria, and you're more prone to infections and just all, there's nothing but downsides to it. Then you got to pay for the razors or the shaving cream or to get the wax or to get the laser treatment. If, there's levels to it. It can become really expensive if you're going to go all the way up to like laser and stuff like that. And you don't think they're doing that on purpose? You don't think that's a money grab? Like, it's crazy. And now here's the thing though, because I know what y'all are thinking. But Raven, don't you shave? Don't you? I'm pretty sure I've seen you with smooth underarms and smooth legs. Yes. And this is my whole point. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. But I am not afraid to admit that the reason why I shave my legs and I shave my underarms and I get a Brazilian wax, the reason why I do that is not for me. It is not for me. It is not because it's a personal preference and I do it for myself. And, it's not because of what men think. And it's not because of society. No, it's just because I like it that way. No, I do it because of society. Point blank, period. I do it because society makes me feel like I have to do it. That's the truth. And I wish more people would just say that, because I'm tired of hearing people, no, I prefer it that way. I just know, me personally, like, I actually really have to shave because when I don't shave, I hate the way it feels. And no, you don't. You cannot be serious. You cannot be serious to say that having, the results of that prickly, itchy feeling and all that stuff, like, you prefer the way that feels. You prefer having to keep up with that versus just letting it grow and be natural and soft and normal. Like, y'all know when it's like, for example, it's wintertime and you let all your body hair just grow out because like nobody's going to see it. It's fine. It doesn't feel like anything. I will say the only thing, sometimes when I let all my leg hair grow out and then I want to put on a pair of tight leggings, I don't like the way that feels. I will give y'all that. Sometimes when you got too much leg hair and then you put on leggings and the leggings are like pulling on the leg hair, okay, that doesn't feel good. Maybe in that case, I could say, okay, I'll shave my legs simply because it doesn't feel good, right? So maybe there are certain cases where you could give a valid reason why you actually feel like you need to shave or wax or whatever. But again, I'll be the first to admit that 90% of the reason is because of society. If society hadn't shifted this way, I would not be doing it. It would be so much easier to just let it be free. But I'm somebody who, like, I grow hair on my stomach. Like, I have a little happy trail. I have, obviously I'm a grown woman. I have pubic hair. So if I were to go out in a bikini without doing any sort of hair removal, you would see hair. You know what I mean? You would see my bikini line. You would see my stomach. You would see my underarms, my legs. Like, it would be very, very noticeable. I have dark colored hair. If I were to go swimming without any hair removal, it would be like, like people would do a double take. And I'm not confident or brave enough to do that, even though I know there's nothing wrong with it. I know that logically there is nothing wrong with it. I could be perfectly clean. I could be the cleanest, best smelling person at that pool because it has nothing to do with cleanliness. But just the fact that it looks like that and our society frowns upon it so much, I would not be able to handle it. I do not have the confidence. That's why. And so I go through hell getting full Brazilian waxes, trying to keep up with, shaving my legs. One thing I don't do is shave my arms. I do grow hair on my arms that's like pretty visible. I don't know if y'all can see from here on the YouTube video, but this used to be something I was kind of self-conscious of. I remember back in middle school, it was like a thing like, "Ugh, you have hair on your arms, you have hairy arms." And I remember specifically I had a close friend who she also had the same thing, like dark visible hair on her arms, and somebody was making fun of her. And after that, she made it her mission that she kept her arms shaved. She would not go a day without making sure that she shaved her arms. And I always thought that was a little bit weird because I'm like, your arms? Like, that's too far for me. I'm not finna keep up with shaving my arms all the time. Y'all gonna have to deal with these hairy arms. But underarms, bikini line, stomach, legs, yes, I keep up with it. And yes, it's because of society. And I'm not ashamed to admit that. And I wish that we could get to a place where we could just admit that. I wish that we could focus on the root of the problem. Let's go after Gillette. Let's reverse the status quo so that we don't have to worry about it in the first place versus trying so hard to act like we like it. You know what I mean? But yeah, all in all, when it comes to the specific example of, removing your body hair, women specifically removing their body hair, number one, it's an attack on women by the patriarchy because why is it that women are always being subjected to some sort of stupid, unnecessary form of control like this? It's just another example of how the patriarchy is targeting and attacking and wanting to control women and make our lives hard for no reason. That's really all it is. Using us, it's this consumerism capitalist, like, yeah, buy these razors, buy these products. You need it. You're not a woman if you don't buy it. Buy it. And men are not going to like you. Men are not going to like you and you're not feminine unless you buy this product and get this and do this to your body. Like, come on now. Y'all don't see the scam in that? Y'all don't see the scam in that? But then we have gone so far to trick ourselves into thinking that we like it. And it's our personal choice because it's easier to say, oh, no, I like doing it. I'm not being forced. I like it. I do it for me. It's easier to say that than to admit that society or the patriarchy or these companies actually have any control over you. It hurts our ego to admit, actually, we are being controlled. Actually, that is the real reason why I'm doing this. So we would rather just say, oh, no, I like doing it. I actually like it. I'm not being forced. No, I find that usually very hard to believe. Also, on the topic of body hair removal, look, hear me out. I already just told y'all, yes, I am somebody who will get a Brazilian wax so I can be swimsuit ready, all those things. But again, I've said this before. I get a little. I'm working on. I'm working on trying to be more free flowing with these more intimate topics because I'm a grown woman and I should have more confidence to speak on these things. But it is still a little bit awkward for me. But there's also that sexual side of it, right? There's the people who do the full wax or whatever because it's like for my partner, it's for intimate times. It's because that's what he likes and that's what I think he would prefer. And, so kind of doing it for that reason too. But we do have to really ask ourselves, how has it become a preference, such a popular preference for a woman to be completely hairless? How has that become such a popular sexual preference for a woman to be completely hairless when a completely hairless look is a prepubescent look? You cannot deny the correlation between what a little girl looks like before puberty and what it looks like when we remove all of our hair. You cannot deny that correlation. Now, I know people, well, it's not like that and we're not thinking like that and but look, you cannot, there is a connection there. There is a connection. And I'm speaking as someone who has gotten a fair share of full Brazilian waxes in my life, okay? I'm speaking as someone who has dated men who have made it known that that is their preference. They want it to be completely hairless. So I'm speaking from the inside. I get it. I get it. And I know that not everybody is like that. I know that there's a lot of men who are like, I don't care what you got. You could have full half landing strip, heart triangle, diamond side, back. Like there's plenty of men who just don't care either way. And shout out to them. Shout out to the men who just shut up about it. Cause you know what? How about shut up? How about when it comes to me and my body hair, you shut the fuck up. I think that's the best option for the men out there. Little piece of advice for the men out there. Shut the fuck up. But there's definitely a lot of men and just people in general who make it very much known like, oh, you have to be bald. You have to be hairless. That's a little bit weird. When we think about it, that's a little bit weird. And that's something that I've more recently sort of like challenged myself on because I'm like, no. And it's uncomfortable. And like, yeah, anyways, clearly I can ramble about this all day because it's something that ever since I hit puberty and the whole idea of hair removal was introduced to me, I always was like, this is so unfair. Why, how come boys don't have to shave? How come it's such a big deal for us? Like, who invented this? This is so stupid. But here I am, 31 years old, still participating in it. Maybe one day I'll get to a point where I have the bravery and confidence to just go against the grain and just like never shave again. And honestly, I really admire women who have already made that choice. When I see a woman with her armpit, her pit hair and everything completely grown out, I'm like, yes, sister, more power to you. Stick it to the man. Like it really is a powerful like statement. And it's so silly. It's so silly because like, why should this even be a statement? It's so silly, but it is. And I kind of wish that I had that confidence, but I don't. And I'm here today to admit that I don't. And I wish that more women would just admit that. And it's the same thing, like I said, with anything cosmetic. Like I got my boobs done, like I said, I got filler, I got all these things. Even Accutane though. I went on Accutane, yes, partially because having cystic acne is a skin disease and it is painful and it is itchy. So it was a medical reason why I felt like I needed to clear my skin. You know what I mean? I did it for my health. I did it for my own personal comfort. So there are definitely those valid personal reasons. But I also did it because having acne fucking sucked. In the sense that people judged me and people weren't attracted to me and people made hateful comments. And I hated living with having to deal with that. It was hard to face the world. It was hard to face society and be judged in that way and be the odd one out and always be the main person, only person in the room who had that level of acne and always feel like people are looking at my skin. I hated that. I did not like the way that it affected my day-to-day life when it came to other people's judgment of me. Yes, I cared what other people thought. Yes. It affected me. It hurt my feelings. And so a big motivator for clearing up my skin was to be able to shut those people up so that I wouldn't have to deal with those comments anymore, so that I wouldn't have to feel that way anymore. Yes, it was because of that outside influence. It was because I cared what people thought. Again, why can't we just say that? Why are we shamed for admitting that? That is a valid reason. You should be allowed to get something done and fix something and change something for that reason. Why do we act like that's not allowed? You want to get surgery, you want to change something, you want to wear makeup, you want to, whatever the case may be. If it has something to do with the outside view of yourself, so be it. That's a reason. It's still your body at the end of the day. It's still your choice at the end of the day. Nobody can stop you from making the choice. They could definitely make you feel bad about it, but I don't think they should. I also wrote a note in here about the fact that like you hear the phrase gender affirming surgery as it relates to the transgender community. When someone is trans and they're getting surgery that is, to help them feel more like their gender, to help with their, gender dysphoria and stuff like that. For example, they might get facial feminization surgery, or they might get a boob job, or they might get whatever to help them, quote unquote, pass. That's called gender affirming surgery, to affirm your gender, to make you, quote unquote, look more like this gender, make you more feminine or make you more masculine. And we use that terminology when it comes to trans people, but there's gender affirming surgery for cis people as well, for people who are not trans. Me getting a boob job, that's gender affirming surgery when you think about it, because it's like I'm trying to feel like a woman instead of a little girl or masculine. You know what I mean? I felt, masculine without having womanly breasts. And so I wanted boobs so that I could feel like a woman, so I could feel more like my gender. That's gender affirming surgery. You know what I mean? And that's the reason is so that other people will see you as that gender, right? But that's the same for cis people too. You think of a man getting a hair transplant or like a jawline surgery to make, give them a more masculine jaw or, fix their hairline or whatever the case may be. That's because they want to feel more masculine. They want to look more like a man. Yes, they are already a man, but they feel like they don't look much like a man. So they're getting these things done to look more like a man, more manly. That's gender affirming. We all want to, affirm our gender, whether we're trans or not. And again, I think that should be reason enough. Like, why should we have to explain ourselves beyond that? And I mean, I get it. The whole sentiment of, when people say, oh, it shouldn't matter what other people think. Like, you care too much about what other people think. Like, you have a problem if you're doing things because you care what other people think. Like, that's your personal problem. You need to get over that because it shouldn't matter what other people think. I just think that's unrealistic. And take it from me as an influencer, someone who gets a lot of other people's opinions thrown at me every day. You know what I mean? Being in the public eye, I deal with what other people think quite a lot. And I have been for my whole life. Telling someone that they shouldn't care what other people think and they should only do things for themselves and it should all come from within and it shouldn't be affected by society. You shouldn't let people change you. That's unrealistic. That's unrealistic. That's not how the human brain works. That's not how human nature works. That's not, like I said, on a biological level, we are pack animals. Community is important. Acceptance is important. Assimilation is important. Feeling safe in our group is important. Not being too much of an outcast is important on a baseline level. Saying you shouldn't care what people think is unrealistic. I get where you're coming from. It would be great if the world worked like that. It doesn't work like that. It simply doesn't work like that. And at the end of the day, especially as any sort of marginalized or oppressed group, we have enough to deal with in this life and in this society as it is. Let us, if something is going to help us assimilate into our community, if it's going to help us blend in, if it's going to make us feel more like part of the pack, if it's going to make us feel more accepted, more respected, more attractive, more safe, more whatever, if it's going to make us fit in, let us do that. The least we could do is, it's like a cheat code. It's like using a cheat code in a game. That's what it is. And of course, cheat codes are frowned upon. Oh, you're cheating. You should just, go through it the hard way, play it the hard way, play it the regular way. No, some of us need a cheat code. The least we could do, like I said, we have so much other shit to deal with. It's hard enough. It's hard out here for a pimp. And we trying to get some money for the rent. Let us use a cheat code or two. We're just trying to survive. That's the thing that frustrates me so much about it. The judgment, especially on women. Obviously, I'm a woman. I speak from a woman's perspective. I have strong feelings about womanhood in this society. But especially as women, we have so much to deal with. We are there. The patriarchy. So much is put on us. The least we could do is allow ourselves to use a cheat code every now and then. You know what I mean? Use our looks to our advantage. Whatever we need to do to help us get through life and make things a little bit easier. Plastic surgery, makeup, this, that. Shut up about it. Like, I had the judgment. Well, why did you do that? You didn't need that. Oh, so you're just trying to look good for a man. You just didn't. Shut up. You know what I mean? It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. I'm getting triggered because I'm thinking about all the things that people have said to me. Because again, I'm a player in this game. I'm a player in this game. I've done a lot of things and I've gotten a lot of backlash for it and a lot of strong opinions. You didn't need that. You didn't need to do that. You should have just. Why don't you just? And why don't you just shut up? I'm just trying to get through this day, this month, this year. You know what I mean? Like, if I can afford to do something like surgery, for example, that's going to make me feel better and make my life a little easier, let me do it. Let me do it in peace. And don't make me write a think piece. Don't make me have to write a, a dissertation proving to you why it was a healthy personal choice. I don't have to prove that to you. Like I said, I could just say, oh, because people were making fun of me. Yes. Because people were making fun of me. Yes. That's why. The end. And what about it? And what you gonna do about it? Literally, what are you gonna do about it? That's the reason. Now what? Like Azalea Banks. Yes. And what now? you know? Now, another two other categories that I feel sort of fit in with this topic. Gym culture, like fitness. And then I also wrote religion. Okay. Gym culture. This is another area where I feel like people are again, this whole thing is people are afraid to admit the real reason why they do things. When it comes to going to the gym or really getting into your fitness and your body image from that perspective, we talked about the surgery side, but what about the quote unquote natural approach of going to the gym and transforming your body that way? To me, it's kind of the same shit. There's so much judgment on getting plastic surgery to change your body, but it's okay if you change your body by going to the gym. Oh, nobody judged. Everybody celebrates you. Everybody says, oh, wow, you're so healthy. You prioritize your health. Fitness is great. That's so great. You went to the gym. You did it the natural way. You completely look different now. And you are trying to fit into a beauty standard, probably a lot of the same beauty standards that the people who got surgery are trying to fit into. You're still aiming for the same overall goal, but because you did it naturally, by going to the gym and dieting, for example, we celebrate that, whereas we look down on the surgery. You're still doing the same thing, though. The thing with the gym, fitness, that sort of healthy lifestyle culture, which I feel like is becoming more and more of a trend these days, by the way. Like, obviously, people who are interested in fitness, that's not a new thing. Like, obviously, going to the gym and all that has been around for quite a long time, and it's always had its place in society as far as like certain groups of people who take it super seriously. But more and more these days, I feel like it's just permeating. Like, everyone is like focused on getting in the gym, getting on their grind, making their daily deposits, whether they've got their home gym set up, whether they're doing Pilates or whatever the case may be. And obviously, that's a positive thing, staying active, staying fit, going to the gym, like, more or less, that's a positive thing. I think it's good to care about your health and fitness. Now, I don't go to the gym. Me personally, I've never been into it. It's just not interesting. I find it to be such a chore and I don't know what it is. I know some people really love it. Like, they literally do it for their mental health. They're not worried about changing their physical appearance. They're not worried about losing weight or gaining muscle or anything. They just do it because they love it. They think it's fun to go to the gym. They love the way it makes them feel, and it's just part of their routine, and they just can't live without it. Like, trust me, I know. I hear people say that all the time. I cannot relate to that. Going to the gym sounds like I do not understand people who say it's fun. It is not fun to me. So I don't get it from that perspective, but I do know that it is true that some people literally just do it because it makes them feel good. And I respect that. You know what I mean? It's a healthy hobby. If it makes you feel good, cool. exercising is scientifically proven to make you feel good from the standpoint of like the fact that it releases endorphins and adrenaline. And I think it releases serotonin and stuff like that too. Like it's literally causing, your brain and your body to release these hormones that literally make you feel good and put you in a better mood. It's literally releasing these hormones that on a scientific level are known to improve your mood. So I know that there's truth to that. I know that it's not all about society and wanting to change your body and stuff like that. But again, we cannot deny the fact that for a lot of people, the reason why they're going to the gym or the reason why they care so much about their quote unquote health and fitness is because of their physical appearance. They're trying to either maintain a certain look or they're trying to transform into a certain look. But is that more admirable because they're doing it through the hard work of going to the gym instead of going under the knife? I guess, because it does take more motivation, determination, and physical, literal blood, sweat, and tears. You have to physically put your body through the process of lifting weights and running laps. And that is admirable. You're putting in a lot of work to reach those goals. And so obviously I see the difference versus just going under the knife and quote unquote taking the easy way out. I see why people celebrate that. But the main point of trying to transform your body and, reach a certain beauty standard, that part of it is still the same. And we still have to be honest about that part of it. Why do we want our body to look like that? Whether you're getting it with an implant or whether you're getting it through weight training, why do you want your body to look like that? That's not an idea that you were born with. That's not an idea that you made up in your head. That is not a personal idea that you invented. That is an idea that comes from somewhere around you. And you have to admit that. You know what I mean? I think that also there's a big part of the gym and the fitness culture that is very unhealthy. There's, eating disorders. There's body dysmorphia. There's the overworking and the addiction to the gym. I think it's probably possible to get addicted to that feeling of the adrenaline release and the endorphin release. There's probably something there that people get addicted to that. Also, we know that people get addicted to it from the standpoint of body dysmorphia and eating disorders and things like that. Like that should be no surprise to anyone that that's definitely a thing. And more so, I think it's overlooked when it comes to men. You think of eating disorders, body dysmorphia, struggles with that, and you think of women. I bet you, that's just the automatic association. Most people are going to think of a woman struggling with that, but men struggle with that too. I've personally known men who had eating disorders, who had very unhealthy, addictive relationships with food and the gym, were addicted to it in a very unhealthy way and admitted to it. So that's a problem as well. And again, we have to be honest. Why are we doing this? Are you doing it because you care about your health? Are you going to the gym every day because you care about your health? You just care about your personal health and that's it. Is that the only reason why you're going to the gym every day? Or is it because you're trying to transform your body or maintain your body to reach society's beauty standard? Is it because you have some sort of disordered eating or some sort of unhealthy relationship with fitness? Is it because of how somebody else is making you feel about your body, or not even about your body, but about your lifestyle and your routine? Because more and more I feel like it's almost like a status quo. It's almost like a symbol. It's almost virtue signaling to say, I go to the gym every day. I work out every day. I go to Pilates. I go to yoga. I do this spin class. I do whatever it is. I run 10 miles. I do marathon, whatever it is. It's becoming a status symbol via social media and just in social circles in general. Again, are you doing it simply because you love it and you care about your health? Or are you doing it partially because it's a status symbol? It makes you feel good socially to be able to say, yeah, I go to the gym every day. Look, and post that story to your Instagram story. Look at me in the gym, or to your feed. Or for content creators, when you're vlogging and you spend the day with me, you make sure I woke up at 5 a.m. and I went to the gym. It is. Again, I feel like people don't want to admit that part of it, but it's okay. My whole thing is, I'm not trying to make you feel bad if that's the case. Why should you have to feel bad if that's the case? Fine. Being respected by other people is not a bad thing. Being admired by other people is not a bad thing. Feeling good because other people respect you, why does it have to be such a bad thing? Of course, you can take it to extremes. Of course, you can become too obsessed with it. You can become too obsessed with outside validation. You can become too overrun by always worrying so much about what other people think. Of course, anything in excess, any extreme is always going to be bad, no matter what side of the spectrum you're on. Caring too little, caring too much. Any extreme is bad. But that basic concept of, I know that people admire and respect me for this, and that makes me feel good. Okay. Just say that. You know what I mean? But I think the whole point is, check in with yourself, be honest with yourself, really ask yourselves these questions. Why am I doing this? Where does this choice really stem from? Where does this behavior really stem from? It cannot just be, oh, because I want to. Oh, it's just my personal choice. You have to be careful with putting that blanket over it all the time, because I feel like you're kind of doing yourself a disservice almost by not acknowledging these other reasons. And it's more about, it's hard to explain, but it's more about the way that I guess I kind of already said this, but it's the way that we judge other people, the way that we judge other people's reasonings for the things that they do. I think that's the more important part, is like acknowledging and just accepting it and not making such a big deal out of it, and making people feel, ashamed for it. Another thing that I've noticed when it comes to the whole fitness example is it's something that people look for when it comes to dating. Like, it gets brought up as like a dating preference, specifically like on Hinge, for example. I can't tell you how many profiles of dudes that I've swiped through where it's a prominent thing on their profile that they say they're looking for someone who is into fitness, someone who goes to the gym, someone who I can work out with, a workout buddy, an exercise buddy, like specifically asking for that on their dating profile. I've seen that so often. I feel like that didn't used to be a thing, or maybe I'm just out the loop, but I definitely feel like this whole fitness gym culture thing has exploded recently, to the point where, again, it's like, so do you love it? Is it for you, or is it because you know that this is what men are now looking for when it comes to dating? It gives you that social status on social media and in your social circles. It's helping you maintain a certain beauty standard with your body. It's all these other societal reasons. And I feel like, I wish that ideally we would all be able to find that happy medium of, yes, go to the gym. I'm not saying never go to the gym. I'm not saying don't care about your fitness. I'm not saying don't become a bodybuilder if you really want to become a bodybuilder. Like, if you're genuinely interested in that, hey, do you. Like, I'm not saying don't do it. I guess I'm just saying, like, I don't know. Like, it's feeling almost like it's such a requirement now. I definitely feel, let me just speak for myself. I feel pressure on myself. The fact that I'm not a fitness girly at all, and I don't go to the gym at all. Now, I'm on the complete other extreme. And like I said, no extreme is good. So I'm not proud of the fact that I'm on the complete other end of the spectrum. I would rather, I know I need to get active and I need to do something. But me not being a fitness girly, I feel a lot of pressure. I feel that feeling. I feel that societal and social and even dating pressure of, oh, you don't go to the gym, you don't work out, you're not going to be my gym buddy, you're not going to be somebody who, oh, you don't, when you do your daily routine or your daily vlogs, you don't go to the gym? How come you don't go to the gym? Like, there's definitely this sort of side eye and pressure, and it doesn't feel like people care about my health. It doesn't feel like people are asking me because they are concerned about my health. You know what I mean? It feels more like, again, like a status symbol, or, some type of virtue signaling or something. It's weird. I don't know if y'all can relate to that, but it's definitely become a thing. And so for me, it's like, I have to be honest with myself. If and when I do start, like, if you ever see me become a gym girly and like really get into like daily going to the gym, yes, part of it is because I know I need to get active, and it would be for my health and for my mental health, because it helps with all of that. But there's that part of it that's like, okay, now I fit in. Now I fit in. Now I'm just like all the other vlogger girlies. Now I can put that in my vlog. Now I can put that on my social media. Now I can put that on my dating profile. Now I can talk about it, in my social circles. That's part of it. And that will be a benefit of it. And is that wrong? Is that wrong of me to, bask in those benefits? I think it would be wrong of me to act like that's not part of it. I would be lying if I tried to act like that's not part of it. It is. It definitely is. But already I can just hear the comments now. I can hear the comments now of people being like, well, you might feel that way. Well, maybe some people do it for those reasons, but I don't do it. The only reason why I go to the gym is because I actually care. The only reason why I got a nose job is because, well, I only wear, y'all. You don't have to prove yourself. The whole point of this episode is that you don't have to prove yourself. Please don't be a pick me in the comments. Who are you trying to impress? Who are you trying to convince? You're not going to convince me. I don't know you. But I can hear somebody right now is feverishly typing. Well, that's your problem. You obviously have a problem with validation if that's the reason why. Let's dig a little deeper. Let's sit with ourselves. And of course, this doesn't apply to every scenario for every person. There's nuance. Let's leave space for nuance in this conversation. Obviously, not everything that I'm saying is going to apply to you at home listening to this. But I bet you a little piece of something that I said honestly applies to you. I bet you there's something in your life that you can say, you know what? Yeah, I do that when it comes to this. Maybe you don't do it when it comes to that, but you probably do it when it comes to this. And the whole point is you don't have to prove yourself to anyone. At the end of the day, it's your life, it's your body, it's your time, however you want to spend it and whatever you want to do. Like I said, if you're going to do something just to make things a little easier for you, just so that you don't have to hear people talk shit about you and complain and make fun of you, just so that you can fit into your social circles and fit into your community and your surroundings a little bit better, just so that you can reap the benefits of whatever societal norm it is, cultural norm, do it. As long as you are not hurting yourself or hurting other people. Your body, your life, your choice. That's my thing. When it comes to anything, I only care if you're hurting yourself and hurting others. I think that's the only thing we should judge. Honestly, when it comes to anything, that's the only thing we should judge. And that's why with some of these things, plastic surgery, the fitness and diet culture, there is that risk of hurting yourself. Taking it too far, you're going under the knife, you have an eating disorder. That's where those concerns do come in. Oh my God, did it just overheat again? I'm gonna be so for real with you guys. My camera keeps overheating. I have gotten interrupted multiple times while trying to film this. And this last time, it completely threw me off track. I have lost my train of thought, but I think more or less I have rambled enough. I think I have made my main points. I am super just completely lost my train of thought. It's so annoying. I really need to troubleshoot my camera situation. I think it's because I'm filming in 4K and these clips are really long. It's just overheating my camera. Let me know if you have any suggestions for that in the comments, by the way. But yeah, moral of the story is we should not shame people for just trying to assimilate and just trying to survive in this world. It's okay if you have outside reasons for your personal choices, if it's not truly just for you, if it has anything to do with just trying to fit in, just trying to make your life a little bit easier. I'm just a proponent of that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I've done certain things and I will continue. You will continue to see me do certain things like that. And I'm not going to be ashamed of it. I'm not going to let y'all make me feel, when I say y'all, the greater y'all, I'm not going to let people make me feel ashamed for doing things like that to help myself or fit in. It is necessary, unfortunately, to a certain extent. It would be great. It would be great if the world didn't revolve, that way. It didn't work that way, but it's not realistic. I do think there is power in going against the grain. It's not to say that you cannot ever go against the grain? Of course you can. I feel like I go against the grain in a lot of ways. It's all about balance. It's that push and pull. Because I definitely go against the grain in certain ways, and there are definitely consequences, social consequences of that. It reminds me of one of the big topics that, like one of the other topics that you guys wanted me to talk about is religion, and how if I'm not religious, or if I'm not a Christian, or if I'm agnostic, or whatever you want to call it, how does that work when so many people around me are religious, are Christians, do believe in God, do practice these certain things? If we don't see eye to eye on that, how does that even work? Which is a whole nother topic that I guess I need to get into in a different episode. But me sort of going against the grain in that sense, it does have its consequences. It can make things difficult. It can make me feel like an outcast sometimes. And that's the case with a lot of things. A lot of these things that I was just talking about, physical appearance, things that we choose to do in our day-to-day routine. So I get it. It's that balance of like, when you have those strong convictions of like, no, like with certain things, you have a strong enough conviction to go against the grain and just deal with the consequences. Certain things, it's like, it's not worth the battle, I think is almost what it is. But there is a lot of power in going against the grain. Like I said before, the girls who just unapologetically grow their body hair out and don't shave, I think that's really powerful. Anything like that, anything that's non-traditional, unconventional, against the status quo, just the less common, the less popular choice. Like, I really admire people who are confident enough to do that. I let Bougie in the room, and now he's just wreaking havoc. He just jumped up on the couch. I don't know if y'all can see that. But anyways, this episode is going downhill real fast, just chaotic. But yeah, I really, really admire people who have the bravery and the confidence to at least they make it seem like they genuinely don't care what anyone thinks. Those people who pulled that off, because a lot of people don't pull it off. I think that's my whole point. A lot of people are really trying to convince everyone that they don't care what anyone thinks, and they're not very convincing. It's like, you obviously care what people think, and that's okay. But you sometimes come across people who genuinely seem like, oh, so you actually don't give a fuck. Oh, so you actually have that extreme level of, I guess you would just call it confidence, to where, like, you know what I mean? Every once in a while you come across someone who's just like, okay. And you have to respect that, honestly. Anywho, that's all I got. That's what I wanted to rant about today. Very interested to hear y'all's perspective on these things, and tell me in the comments. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's make this a safe space. If you're open to it, I would love to hear from you guys. What are some things that you do for the simple fact of just assimilating, just fitting in? Like, yes, it's because of these outside reasons. Like, let's open up in the comments. Let's share with the class. Let's be real. I think it's helpful to just like make it a safe space to talk about these things. But yeah, that's what I got for this episode. I am still debating on which like next topic I'm going to talk about. I know there's like a 50-50 divide on the whole like religion related topics. I know there's a good amount of people who do not want to hear that shit. There's a good amount of people who are just like, don't go there. But there's also a good amount of people who are like most interested in that. And I've touched on certain things here and there. There's previous episodes that you guys can listen to on the topic of just religion in general. But it's a very complicated subject, and I have complicated thoughts on it. I think part of it, I don't want to go on a whole nother tangent because I'm trying to wrap this up, but part of it is that, I feel like people have a very surface level view of what my views are. Like, people think they know what my standpoint is, but I feel like my standpoint is complicated and there is nuance to it and there is gray area. And so I want to have the opportunity to explain that in more detail and continue to explain it because it changes over time. And so that's part of the reason why I like talking about it. But it is a very touchy subject for obvious reasons. So we'll see. Maybe that'll be the next episode. Maybe not. Don't forget that you guys can leave me a voice note, a voicemail at any time. The link will be in the description box of this YouTube video. It's also in my bio on all of my platforms. Leave me a voicemail with any questions, comments, feedback, scenarios, advice that you need. Anything you could think of. Is a completely open forum for you guys to reach out to me. I will be doing more episodes where I answer y'all's voicemails. So make sure to send those in. And yeah, that's everything I got. So I will talk to y'all next week.